Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com. This will be my top 10 stocks as we head into Tuesday, November 15th. This will be a technical analysis breakdown. So if you are someone that uses charts within your trading, or maybe you're just interested in learning more about charts and how they can be used as a tool to help make good decisions as a trader, this will be a video for you. First off, a couple of clarification points. Number one, the price you see over here will be changing, and the candlestick you see right there will be moving around and changing. That is because the market's still open for a small amount of time, but I like to do these videos when the market is still open because sometimes we can capture some really interesting late day price movement. And then second, I'll be using the 30-minute time frame, meaning each one of these candlesticks here, as they're called, represents 30 minutes worth of time. So stock number one here, TBLT, very, very solid day today. I mean, you look down here and you can see just massive volume came in, well above average volume when you look backwards. And then, of course, the price has made a very, very solid move. So, and that's a lot of times what it's all about, just finding stocks that normally don't have a bunch of volume and movement, and then all of a sudden that shows up, because that's when you know a lot more other eyeballs will continue to watch them. And that's what we have here. So depending on how you like to play things, from a breakout standpoint, not a whole lot you can work with right now, because that first breakout has essentially already happened right here when you could draw that line right there. The price broke through there and is now doing some battling back and forth. But what's, I think, a little bit more interesting, especially for you pullback players, is there does seem to be some potential for a pullback, and some interesting areas from that angle reside right there at $3.40. And then after 340, another interesting level down there right around $3.20. Now, from a breakout standpoint, you'll just have to wait and observe, which is the idea of a watch list, to find unique, to find interesting situations, not to randomly rush out and buy anything, but to watch it and see how things play out. So from a breakout standpoint, yeah, more watching will be required to see if there's some sort of breakout setup that takes place. But as of now, there are some pullback setups that already exist. So depending on your strategy, depending on your kind of philosophy and approach to the market, it's going to dictate how you would approach this. But the common denominator remains the same. Good solid movement, good solid volume, so worth keeping an eye on, especially if you like to play this price range. Next, XELA, penny stock here with a whole lot of volume today and a very nice pattern, which is always a good thing, because when you have patterns that stand out quite a bit, while nothing is guaranteed, it does bring about valid situations such as potential self-fulfilling prophecies. So let me get that drawn out here and make this green to represent support. So again, to be very clear, I'm not trying to impress you. I'm not trying to imply this is a great secret discovery. I have some sort of special skill. I assure you a lot of traders have drawn this pattern. And again, I say all that because when a lot of people are watching the same pattern, wondering the same thing, call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, call it whatever you want, it can produce some very dynamic movement. So to make this a bit easier to see, let's keep it one color. So we have our resistance, we have our support, we have the big movement right there. If we put the golf hole down here to make it a little bit more visual, this would be known as a bull pennant pattern. So again, no such thing as a guarantee, but is it valid? Is it plausible to think that if the price comes up to the top part of that pattern and gets the breakout, that break right there could create additional buying pressure? That's certainly a valid outcome, so worth keeping an eye on. Next one, MMAT. Another one here where we have some good, well-defined levels, so you can, bring about that potential talking point of self-fulfilling prophecies. But the first key well-defined level, right up there at the $1.78 mark, you can see not once but twice price got up there and got rejected. So maybe some sort of double top here, but I think I need to see more evidence of weakness than just a couple of points right there, because the overall trend and the overall movement after today is still very strong. So just keep that in mind. Don't go too far down. Double top, it's reversing. Now, of course, it could. Anything can happen. But like I said, I'd be a little skeptical in that regard. But if you do like to play breakouts, then it goes to reason that if the price can return back upwards and get that break, that break right there in and of itself could realistically produce additional buying pressure. For those of you that like to play those break or pullbacks, then an interesting pullback level here is just a former break of that level of resistance, which now you would expect to potentially act as support down there around $1.60. But all in all, no doubt about it, great movement today, nice price range that I know a lot of people are interested in, so worth keeping an eye on if you do like this price range. Next one, AMC. Been tracking this one quite a bit, and the uptrend continues, higher highs and higher lows. Now, one clarification, and this is a little tricky to talk about from a presentation standpoint because there are lots of perspectives, but if you are some sort of day trader, flipper, scalper, and you bought right there and your plan was to buy and sell within 10 minutes, and yes, from that perspective, the chart's looking pretty bad, because as of now, there has been a relatively big pullback today. Keyword there being today, because when you step back and look at multiple days, what do you have? Well, you have this set of lows, the former breakout point. You have some lows right there. You have lows down here. And if you envision each one of those as stair steps, what do you have? Well, from the big picture point of view, trying to emphasize that, you do still have stair steps progressing in the upwards direction, and that's what it's all about. So again, is this a bad or good looking chart? Well, I don't know. What sort of game plan did you have going into it? But I do want to get this updated because this is just based on that rule that when levels of resistance are broken, you want to see them act as support. So the newest area of support after today's movement right there around that 725 mark. In terms of areas of resistance, I think a lot of people have drawn that trend line right in a play right there. So again, if you want to call that some sort of self-fulfilling prophecy trend line, you got to think that a lot of traders have drawn that level because that's a relatively basic thing to draw right there. So worth keeping an eye on. But yeah, overall, AMC, assuming you care about the big picture point of view, it's putting in those higher highs and higher lows, and that's what matters. Next one here, MULN. And again, I wanted to do this update here because you can see that last week, 33 cents represented by that red line, presented a problem right there. And then even the opening 30 minutes here, you can see the price never quite hit it, but it got within the general vicinity of getting around there and trying to do battle with it and couldn't, and then ultimately did pull back. Now, when I say pull back, I don't mean that in a super bearish way because, if you want to call this a sideways channel that the price now entered into, the price went slightly down, halfway approximately being right there between this channel. So it went down slightly below halfway and then did start to recover back upwards. So overall, from a big picture standpoint, nothing really happened because the price is still just staying between the boundaries of this sideways channel, which I've talked about in the past. But yeah, today and individually, sure, of course things happen. But with the, failed move to get up through 33 cents, which just really circles back to the whole idea that 33 cents continues to be a level that a lot of people are going to be watching. And you got to think that after today, that many more people will be watching it, which just brings about the talking point and gives it more credibility that it could be a self-fulfilling prophecy. So 33 cents remains, like I said, an important level and one that you got to think that many more people are watching. 27 cents remains the key level of support, but again, wasn't even close to being tested today. But yeah, if the price can continue to trend up like it's doing right now and get up closer to 33 cents, like I said, you got to think a lot of people will be watching that level. Real quick, I wanted to pause and invite you to get signed up for this free live online event I'm offering on later on in the week. So if you've been enjoying what you've seen here and you want to learn more about this tool, how it can and should be used and why it's so powerful in building consistency as a trader, then I'd love to have you join the class live. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link down in the description box. You can click to get signed up, or if you're watching on my site, there's going to be an area right there on the webpage that you can click to get signed up. So like I said, if you've been enjoying what you've seen and you want to learn more, then definitely get signed up for the free training. Next one here, AMD, very popular stock. And when you have popular stocks with what we'll call self-fulfilling prophecy areas, it's more than valid to think that, okay, certain levels could very well produce big movements. And we have that here. Again, AMD already very, very popular, very followed stock. And then check out this line right here. I mean, this level right up here at 75.25 sticks out like a sore thumb. You got to think that all sorts of people are watching that level as it served as a rejection point during the opening 30 minutes today. And then later on in the afternoon, once again, the price could just not push up through that area. So a lot of people are going to be watching that. And one of those levels where, like I said, and we'll continue to say, no such thing as a guarantee, but it is certainly plausible to think that if the price can turn itself around, get back up to the level and then push up through it, that could very well create additional buying pressure. So if you like to play breakouts in stocks that are uptrending, and right now this thing is in an uptrend, then definitely worth keeping an eye on AMD and that 75.25 mark. Next one, NIO, started off the day very, very nicely as the price gapped up above that red line, which I talked about last week. Made a move, came all the way up here, and then the party just slammed the brakes on and down it went back inside of that channel. Now let me be very clear. I talked about this on AMC. There's a couple different perspectives. So if you're a day trader and you bought right there and your plan was to buy and sell within 10 minutes, well then yeah, from that angle, chart looks really bad. It was a completely failed breakout. But from a big picture point of view, sure, it failed when it broke out, but it's not like it failed, came down here to that support, broke through there. It didn't do anything crazy. It just failed to break out, pulled back, and is now just still holding up above that green line there, which was the other area of support. So you got to make that distinction. Was today bad? Yeah, it was bad from the reference point of a failed breakout. But does that mean that the entire chart is bad? No, again, think about it. The word day, as in one day. But when you look at multiple days here, the price is still just chopping around in this sideways channel. And overall, from a low standpoint, you still have lows there. And if this green line continues to hold its lows, you still do have progress being made in the upwards direction. Next one, PDSB, and we probably should have put this at a different location within the watch just because we have that whole idea right now of a good self-fulfilling prophecy point and a pattern. So the top of the pattern right there, $7.40 as resistance. And then you have a nice well-defined bottom part of the pattern right there, that trend line, which again, I'll change to green to represent support, there we go. And then just to keep this all the same color, we have our resistance, we have our support, we have the big move up there. We'll put our golf hole down here, and we have ourselves another bull pennant pattern. So if you like to play sub $10 stocks, if you like to play bull pennant patterns, keep an eye on this one. Next one here, TSLA Tesla, and I don't remember which one, but nothing really happened today from a broad point of view. Again, yes, I realize that today the price, started off all the way down here, came up there, and is now pulling back. Both in the grand scheme of things, you can see the price is still now holding between the red and green line, specifically that red line there, which I talked about last week at right around the 197 mark. Not that it ever hit it today, but I mean, right there got, generally speaking, up in the overall ballpark before getting rejected back down. But when I say rejected, I don't say that in a super bearish way, because it's not like it got rejected, came all the way down to the green line, and then blasted down through that. So again, was today rough? Yeah, it was rough in some senses, but by no means is the entire chart ruined or anything like that. Now, if the price comes down here and breaks down below the 185 mark, that's where the discussion starts to change a little bit. But right now, the price does seem to just be chopping around back and forth between this sideways action. But the one level I do want to get thrown into play there, just because I'm curious about it and I could potentially see myself being interested in it moving forward, is going to be that trend line right there. Which, preferably speaking, the price holds above there. But even if it doesn't, there is still that secondary area of support down there around 185. But like I said, I'm putting that trend line in there just out of my personal curiosity to see how the price behaves in regards to that, and as a potential area to maybe build some trade plans around. But overall, 197 remains that key level of resistance, and 185 remains that key level of support. Next one, TQQQ, which is the most popular ETF on the market today based on just volume. And it's a way where if you think that the NASDAQ is going to rise, you could buy this. And the attractive part is it just allows you to get involved with the NASDAQ at a much lower price point. So you can see right now that overall, everything is still perfectly fine. But the one question that I am a little bit more curious of is this a double top? Now, I know I talked about a double top previously, but this one's a little bit different because you have it across a couple of days and you have a couple, quote unquote clumps. So we have quote unquote clump number 1 of highs and then quote unquote clump number 2 of highs right there. So is this some sort of double top, which is now getting the confirmation of a deeper, I'm not going to say full blown reversal, but of a deeper pullback? Well, right here, you have a pretty big pullback. So that goes, back to the question of, is this the start of a bigger double top pullback? And I think so, but I could definitely be wrong. But the next confirmation point of that is going to be right here at $21.80. So keep an eye on $21.80 if the price falls below there. Again, that does not mean that the NASDAQ is going to fall apart and go back to lows. But at that point, I could very well see a deeper pullback showing back up again. So definitely keep an eye on that. But a very quick way to just say, no, Clay, you got that totally wrong, is if the price just turns around, comes back up here to 23, and then busts up through there. At that point, it's like, okay, there definitely was never any sort of legitimate double top. So those are going to be the main levels right now. But yeah, if I were forced into a corner, I would say this is a double top. This is the start of a bigger pullback here. But we'll have to see how the next few days this week plays out. So that wraps up the top 10. Again, if you like what you saw here, then I want you to get signed up for the class later this week, Thursday, November 17th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope to see you there. As far as these top 10 videos are concerned, if you enjoy these, do 2 things for me, please. Helps out the channel. Hit that like button. Leave a simple comment below. Say hi. Tell me your favorite color. Tell me what you're trading tomorrow. Tell me what you traded today. But little comments really do go a long way, and I thank you in advance for it. So again, get signed up for the training. Hit that like button. Leave a simple comment below. Thanks for watching. Take care. Have a good one.